Hello, everybody, and welcome to another wonderful episode of The Best Games, period. I'm your host, Jack Gardner, and with me is the wonderful and vivacious Naomi Lugo.
Hi.
So vivacious.
Yep. Hi there.
Yeah, this is, believe it or not, dear listeners, this is like the first episode we've recorded
This year?
almost all year. I think we recorded our best of 2018 a little bit into January. And since then, we've been coasting on episodes we've recorded solo or with a guest or old episodes we just had in the can.
In the can. They're still quality episodes.
But yeah, I just mean like in storage. Like we have a bunch of like Dragon Guard episodes in storage and such.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not that they're bad.
In the can. So there's two references there. There's you go into the can or a trash can. Those are my images. So
I forgot how to run the show. This is our 125th episode. Bless you.
I never sneeze on I was gonna say on camera. Wow, we're a mess. We're so great.
Yeah, we don't have cameras.
I mean, I do, but it's not set up yet.
I also have one. It's just not a good camera.
Mine's 4K. I have no excuse.
Whoa!
I know.
Fancy lady over here.
Uh-huh. So fancy it sat in the bag since I've gotten it.
So, let's talk a little bit about current gaming events because it just won't stop. There's just news all the time.
Imagine that.
And today in particular was just full of news. I know I had other things I wanted to talk about and was planning to talk about, but then today happened, and pretty much all of the news that we could possibly want to talk about happened today. So, should we dive in?
Heck yeah, let's dive in.
So we are recording this on Tuesday, February 22nd. And by 22nd, I mean 26th.
Same thing.
They're just numbers. This is why I write things. So today was a day of just PR goof-em-ups. Public relations
No-nos.
Non-salutations. I like public relations no-nos. Public relation no-nos.
Yes.
But let's just start off with the biggest one that came to kind of dominate the day was THQ Nordic. Everyone okay over there? Because so THQ Nordic, they're a big publisher for kind of not quite AAA games, but not really indie games. They're kind of in the mid tier. They're like the shining example of how to conduct a business in gaming in a moderate fashion. And then today happened, and I have...
Yeah, whoever was running the social account today, well, I guess whoever was making decisions today, doesn't know about the world of the internet. Just has no context.
And that's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is that they do know how the world of the internet is, and they did something really, really scummy. So, basically, if you are not familiar with this event, THQ Nordic, you know, as publishers do, they want to promote their games and talk with their fan base and do stuff like that. And so sometimes these companies will send a social media person onto Reddit to do AMAs, Ask Me Anything. And they did that, except they didn't go to Reddit this time. This time, THQ Nordic decided that they would have an AMA on a site called 8chan. Now, those of you who have been on the internet for a while, you might recognize 8chan as sounding very familiar to 4chan, which, for good reason, because basically 8chan is where people go when they're not accepted on 4chan anymore. If you've spent any amount of time on the internet,
what a bar.
You know that 4chan is basically known as the wretched hive of scum and villainy of the internet. And so this is the wretcheder, scummier hive of the internet. And as far as I know, it really rose to prominence following Gamergate. The reason I bring this up is because people on 4chan got so upset that Gamergate kept coming up on threads that were unrelated to gaming that they basically banned conversation of Gamergate from the website, which caused a bunch of people who were still interested in talking about it to migrate over to 8chan. And 8chan is basically, to kind of sum it up right now, it's a collection of neo-Nazis. I believe someone involved in running the website has been a long-time writer of pro-eugenics articles for a publication called The Daily Stormer, which is a well-known neo-Nazi publication. Also, pedophilia, which... So yeah, it's a disgusting place. And I say that, no joke, it is a very disgusting and disturbing place to go. There are very few places that I know of on the internet that are worse. And THQ Nordic decided that they were going to host an AMA on there. And to quote the person running the social media account today, I don't know why we're doing this. They, for no apparent reason, decided to have this AMA on this website, either because they knew what it was and didn't care, or because they absolutely did no research and just went there.
Or the people above them, some sort of boss was like, hey, we're going to do this. And they were like, maybe not. And they were like, do it anyway. And they're like, passive aggressive on Twitter.
It's very apparent when you go there that it is a terrible place. It will make you lose faith in humanity. It is awful. Oh, also, I should mention, this site is notorious for hosting docs information on various game journalists. So, on top of all of that, the decision to host this is going to tick off a lot of the people who are going to be covering the games that THQ Nordic does. Literally every part of this decision was a bad idea. But they decided to host an AMA on it, and they got questions like, hey, I really like anime porn of underage girls. You should have more of that in your game, with an accompanying picture of an underage anime girl, scantily clad, wearing a Nazi hat. Because of course they did. Like, you're going to the worst place. Like, literally right after the AMA ended, they threw up an apology on their Twitter from, like, the head of their PR, basically saying, oh, we didn't know what this place was, and, you know, it was a total accident. And frankly, to me, it reads like the corporate equivalent of someone making an incredibly racist or sexist joke and then going, but I'm just kidding, ha ha ha. And so that leaves the possibility that either someone there, whoever was running this program, whoever agreed to this, did absolutely no research. And, like, if you're running social media, that's your job. Or they knew about it and they just didn't care. And that really sucks.
Agreed.
And it doubly sucks for any of the developers who THQ Nordic has been representing, because I'm sure they woke up today and they saw that and were none too pleased to see their major publishing partner doing stuff like that. So, that, gosh golly, was that a thing today?
Hooray.
Hooray.
I don't even know how to describe that, because, like, 8chan doesn't come up on Google. Like, Google has blocked 8chan. And, like, if any sort of cursory research was done, they could have avoided this. And it's just absolutely baffling to consider the minds or the circumstance that would lead to this. So, yeah.
Well, like,
I don't even know.
Like, you and I both run social media accounts. Beyond just our own personal ones. I can't imagine a situation in which I posted a tweet to one of those accounts that referenced like a place like that, having done no research on it. I don't know. Like, that it's just, I don't get it unless it was someone who was really embedded in that culture already.
I think it was probably just like last minute thing, you know, and they just went with it because it probably sounded good to someone, and that's how it happened. At least that's what I'm like. I don't even know if I'm hoping for that, but that's my best guess. Is that it was like, just lazy, you know?
I would hope it's lazy, because then that's it. That at least means that it's just incompetence and not something more malicious.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like as soon as you go to that website, within like 2 minutes, you should know what kind of people you're dealing with, and that this is an awful idea. Like, I don't know. It's still baffling to me, and I've been thinking about it all day. I also can't imagine like what they can do to make up for it. And like, maybe they're just hoping people are going to forget, but like, I write content for Extra Life. Extra Life is a charity. It's a children's charity. It's to help sick and injured kids. And I can't in good conscience cover THQ Nordic Games until I'm sure that, like, this is not something that they stand for. Like, doing a promotional thing with these people and then going, whoops, sorry, like, it's not, one apology isn't gonna cut it for me. Like, that, you just torched a bridge, and I don't know why. I don't know what they can do to make it better.
I don't know. And unfortunately, the way the games industry and I mean pretty much everything works on Twitter is that there's outrage, there's an apology, and then there's not much else. It would be great to see some sort of investigation, but who's going to do that within the THQ Nordic company when they want it to just go away? You know, they're not going to do something that would, you know, bring out the seedy blah, blah, blah of THQ. Like, it's just going to fade. And that really sucks. But at least with, like, Twitter, like, there's some sort of accountability. But I don't know if it amounts to much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really expect anything to come of this, but I would figure if this was something that multiple people were involved in, that some of them are going to be really uncomfortable with having done this and worked with these people, even if it was, however briefly, and would probably leak something. I don't know. Like, I'm really curious about how this happened. Shout out to Mark.
Just make sure that none of the nasty stuff is gonna...
Yeah.
And that even, like, shows, like, they knew about this nasty stuff, at least in some sort of capacity. Like, Mark told them or something. Like, I don't know.
They knew.
It's exhausting.
Knew. And I was gonna see if we could transition into a more lighthearted thing, but I think I'll just do the other thing that happened today, and then we can just salve the wound a little bit.
Okay.
And so the other social media gaffe of today was not quite as big and not as malicious. I, in fact, don't think it was malicious at all, but the Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter account, official Twitter account, noticed that there was a piece of Sonic the Hedgehog music playing in a certain political figure's propaganda videos, basically. And it was, I believe, like a piece of boss music from one of the Sonic Adventure games. And they retweeted it and basically were like, hey, isn't this is wacky. And that political figure happened to be the leader of Brazil, President Bolsonaro, which, if you're unfamiliar with him, he's a bad dude. And as I was saying to Naomi earlier, people will say things in average conversation like, oh, so-and-so's a fascist. And it will be hyperbole. Calling Bolsonaro a fascist is not hyperbole. He is very much in favor of displacing and or eliminating native tribes throughout Brazil. He's very much in favor of harming or straight up killing LGBTQ people, and has given police across Brazil kind of a blank slate, not a blank slate, basically encouraged them to murder more people. And he's a bad guy. And so retweeting some of his propaganda without any context, that's not a great thing to do. And it's not as... I guess I'm kind of floundering here, but like sharing something and just going like, "Oh, it's wacky," doesn't make it okay. But what I'm trying to say is that if you are unquestioningly sharing something and retweeting it to tens of thousands of people without any intention of satirizing or providing additional context, and it's related to like an actual fascist, you are in effect just spreading propaganda for this person or figure or party or whatever. And that's not really great.
That's bad.
Well, yeah, like wagging the finger, but like if they had just waited for an article to be written that they could link to, that would have been great. Or maybe even just decide, hey, don't spread this political figure's message or reach. Just don't tweet about it. Or, tweet about it, but kind of with a knowingness that this person is bad. Like, Bolsonaro is the kind of person that even like Dr. Eggman, Dr. Robotnik would look at and be like, whoa, buddy, you're going a little bit too far.
Oh.
Like when you're retweeting someone who is much worse than Dr. Robotnik, and you're the Twitter account for Sonic the Hedgehog, like, again, this is one of those situations where I don't think there was any ill intent, but I think there wasn't appropriate thought put into the framing or the messaging of this beyond, oh, this is wacky. And when you don't think about framing or context, you can get into some really big trouble. And this isn't obviously murdering people. Like, it's a tweet. and it's not going to get Bolsonaro tens of thousands of adoring fans.
And
but it might
these are
make
professionals who have done this.
Right. It might make people take him less seriously than the threat he actually is to numerous people, minorities living in Brazil.
Another thing is, I mean, with video games, the audience can be very, very, very impressionable. We've seen that a lot with figures like PewDiePie saying stupid crap that he might not mean as, you know, an actual Nazi, but you still see the impact that it had on whoever was reading it. So like Jack said, you know, it could lead to people not taking that seriously and just normalizing it. And that's something that definitely doesn't need to happen with a literal fascist dictator.
So, yeah, that happened. PR people, social media people, if you're going to retweet something or if you're going to set up a social media event, please look at the context of who you're retweeting, and also that's literally your entire job. You shouldn't be making mistakes like that. Anyway, I understand why it might be a mistake in the Sonic case, because not everyone is familiar with Bolsonaro or his policies.
Yeah, it's slightly obscure, but still, that's why you're hired as a social media professional. Right. You, at the very least, you click on the account that you're retweeting from and, you know, right-click Google. Like, come on.
So, yeah, those are the steaming gaming news / political takes for the week. Let's cool off a little bit with some Pokemans.
Pokemans. So by the time you're listening to this, we will have solid information. But as of now, we are waiting for a press conference tomorrow morning, the 27th, where it has been confirmed that we will get some sort of Pokemon news. And since we are all rabid fans who have lost control of our own consciousness, we are speculating the crap out of this, and we are getting our hopes up so high, that we are imagining everything we've always wanted. And again, this is going to be a 7-minute press conference. So there's a long history of Nintendo maybe disappointing us with their announcements in the past.
Maybe.
So, yeah, maybe. So it's really hard to make a solid prediction of what Nintendo is going to do. And, you know, of course they want that because they want this hype. They want people to be absolutely floored when they finally do give the news that we all want. But, so some of the speculations that are coming out are, of course, for our Gen 8 game that has been promised for 2019. Well, I guess I say promised loosely. It has been slightly announced for 2019. Slightly. So we're thinking that we're going to get some news there. The announcement itself came on a very, very minimal poster. It has 3 Pokeballs and then a time and, you know, all that information. So of course that is a clue that we are all clinging on for dear life because, you know, it can mean so many different things. My biggest connection is that it's the 3 starter Pokemon. You know, it's a very iconic image. When you first start your game, you pick from these 3 Pokeballs. And yeah. So a lot of people are saying, oh my gosh, that means we're going to get our Gen 8, you know, starter Pokemon and we're going to see something. Yeah, sure. But at the same time, it could just be a remake or a DLC for Let's Go, as Jack has speculated, where we get, I don't know, maybe more Pokemon in Gen 2, something. you all know what I would love to hear and love to see, so I won't go into that too much. But Nintendo is like an abusive relationship when it comes to this kind of stuff, and I'm trying to just... I don't even know what I'm trying to do. I want to just be excited.
If you want to listen to all of Naomi's hopes and dreams, you can listen to part 2 of games coming in 2019.
Oh my
which
god!
I think was the 2 weeks ago. The episode from 2 weeks ago.
So you can hear me blather on about Pokemon, and I'm sure there's plenty of bits of me here and there talking about this game and what I want to see in it. So we'll see. And I'm sure it'll be interesting listening to this podcast, knowing the news that already came out. But at this moment, I don't know. Like I said, I want to be excited. I want to just have that hope. But Nintendo has taken that away from me in the past and other people, and we know better. So we'll see. But in more solid Pokemon news, we got another trailer for Detective Pikachu. So that's fun. I liked seeing that a larger breadth of actual monsters, like Snorlax just sitting in the road. My goodness, adorable.
And he's furry.
And Bulbasaur and like Arcanine with the cops, and I mean there was of course less desirable stuff like more looks at Lickitung and Mr. Mime, but we also got to see Mewtwo and got a little bit more involved with the story. So my hopes are going up for it. It'll be fun to watch at the very least. So, and Ryan Reynolds is a great tap for that role. So,
I mean, he's no Danny DeVito.
No, he's not.
He's okay. So I wrote about the trailer earlier today, and I put a bunch of my thoughts down on what the general storyline is going to be. Do you have any guesses?
I think it's going to be pretty standard. I say it's going to be standard, and then the next thing I was going to say is kid finds a talking Pikachu. So, as standard as that can be. But just like a buddy story, a reluctant buddy story where they go and try to find this person and end up doing a whole bunch of other shenanigans, and then at the end they fight some big creature or big monster, and then come to some sort of twist realization about the person they're finding, and
Yep. Okay.
I mean, this movie's not really about the plot. I don't think.
See,
so.
I think I have carefully analyzed our 2 trailers, and I think it's going to be weird, and it's going to have a lot of twists in it. So, do you want me to spill the beans on my theory?
Do it.
Okay. So, basically, the entire plot that we've seen so far of Detective Pikachu is that the main character is Tim Goodman, and his father, Harry Goodman, has gone missing. And the entire mystery is what happened to Harry Goodman. And we learn in this trailer that Detective Pikachu shows up at Tim's apartment because his hat has Harry Goodman and an address written inside of it, which is Tim's apartment. And we also learn that Detective Pikachu has amnesia and is basically trying to figure out who Harry Goodman is and like what happened to him and like what the deal is. So here are kind of my theories of what's going to be happening. So I think what happened was that Harry Goodman got involved in a large-scale investigation of Team Rocket, because we learned in the first trailer that Harry Goodman is a legendary police officer for Rhyme City, which is where this all takes place. So I think that Harry got involved with investigating Team Rocket, which you might historically remember as a bunch of bumblers, but remember that in the anime and the games, we only really see a small subsection of Team Rocket. There are plenty of competent people in Team Rocket.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this is going to be focusing more on the competent people. And what my guess is that we see a bunch of underground fighting. It looks like kind of an underground fighting ring for Pokemon, which I think is a less safe version of like official Pokemon battling. And I'm guessing that is run by Team Rocket. I don't really know that to be the case, but it does look like it's run by maybe some people that are wearing clothes similar to like Team Skull from the later Pokemon games. Here's kind of where things go off the rails, because we also see in the second trailer that there is like some sort of laboratory, and we get to see that Mewtwo exists in this world. And Mewtwo looks really angry.
When does Mewtwo not?
And so I think that basically what ends up happening is that Harry was discovered investigating Team Rocket's secret lab, and they used him as fodder in an experiment of some kind. And I think that experiment, which I'm calling it right now, is run by a guy named Bill, was somehow involving turning people into Pokemon or Pokemon into people or swapping brains, something like that. Because...
Oh my god, Detective Pikachu is the dad.
I think Detective Pikachu is the dad.
Dang.
And also, I think that we're going to see Giovanni, who is a major, like the leader of Team Rocket in the original anime and in the game, though you couldn't really tell as much in the game, I think. I think we're going to see Giovanni because there's a scene, it's very brief, of like a Flareon appearing on this desk in a very opulent looking room. I am going to make a further very bold prediction that Flareon is actually Giovanni. I've seen a lot of people saying that they think that the Flareon is evolving. There's also some speculation that the Flareon is coming out of a Pokeball. We just don't see that part in the trailer. I think it is Giovanni turning into Flareon because there's something very sinister about it. And it's framed like it's very, very important. It's like center frame. There are two giant statues on either side of it. I'm calling it's Giovanni. So, and on top of that, we see that Tim has like, over the course of the movie, Tim is going to befriend this mysterious woman who has a Psyduck. And my theory is that she is a scientist from the Team Rocket labs that is on a quest either to figure out, like, either to do research on or reclaim Detective Pikachu, or, and this is more likely, I think, to try and track down Mewtwo. And that's the reason she has a Psyduck, because Psyduck is like the only psychic Pokemon other than Mewtwo that we've seen in these trailers.
Bam.
And yeah, it's all going to come together, and then like the movie is basically going to be kind of like the first anime movie where Mewtwo's on a rampage, and they're going to have to kind of figure out how to deal with him. And I imagine it's going to have something to do with the bond between father and son and becoming a Pokemon trainer. And so those are my theories.
That's pretty dang deep.
I thought a lot about this.
I can tell. Bravo.
I mean,
you can't hear it, but I'm clapping.
I mean, why else would a Pikachu have amnesia and also a deep and abiding love of solving mysteries and black coffee? It's because he's a dad, and he's a police dad. He's Pikachu police dad.
Spoiler alert. Indeed. Well, I am impressed. I am impressed. So we'll have to come back and listen to this once the movie actually comes out.
I'm super excited. Like, when I heard the concept, I was intrigued. Then I saw the first trailer, and I was like, okay, this could be good. And then I saw this new trailer. I'm fairly sure this movie is gonna get close to breaking $1 billion.
Oh, more bold predictions.
Yeah.
But I mean, it does have Pokemon on it, so.
It has Pokemon, and, like, they look pretty good. Like, they might look weird, but I think we're kind of adjusting to it collectively.
Yeah, we are. I am. I think seeing an adorable little Bulbasaur helped. And Charizard looks really badass with, like, its scales and everything, so. I want to see the merch.
I want Pokemon merch.
I want a plush of that scaly Charmander. Charizard, sorry. Yeah. I don't want those freaking Pokemon cards, though. My god. They look so... Ugh. At least the ones that they've launched so far. Have you seen them?
I think I remember seeing them, but they didn't leave a ton of a big impression.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like stills from the film. Not that all of like the Pokemon cards have ever always been winners. Like, I'm not a big fan of the series. I think it's like in 2014 where they just like have little miniatures and they take random pictures of them and like I want to say the wild, but it's not even that. It's like in some grass and on some rocks. Like, but these ones were, I don't know. Like, do we really need like Pokemon cards for everything? And the answer is yes, and I'll reluctantly accept that. So,
okay.
Yeah. I suppose we should eventually talk about this game that we say we're going to.
Yeah.
Oh, we're great. So so this week we're talking about a game that of course is still on brand with Pokemon and me, and I am nominating Animal Crossing: A New Leaf. And I have some very obvious reasons for loving this game. It falls into my genre. But I do want to kind of ask a question. I want you to, like, psychoanalyze me, which is kind of weird. So, Animal Crossing is a very, very basic game, right? You are in a new town, and you're doing pretty menial tasks in order to unlock various things that are also pretty trivial, like new outfits or just little things like that. You attract new residents to town, blah blah blah. It's another farming game pretty much,
minus the farming.
You just shake trees and you get random fruit. But I was trying to dissect why this game is so popular, because when I first got this game, not having played any Animal Crossing before that, I was like, are you kidding me? This is it? Like, there's nothing to this game. Like, it's seriously like a mobile game before mobile games look like this. And of course, then it eventually got a mobile game that even simplified it even more. Another discussion. But at the same time, I still played the hell out of this game. So much so where I was like trying to cheat the day and night system and was getting yelled at by, I think it was like a little badger or something, a mole. Anyway, so I'm just trying to figure out what it appeals to, and most likely not just my brain, but people who like this game. You know, obviously we have the element of cute, adorable little critters who are like extremely stupidly adorable. And I think that the language that they speak is like the best video game language, way better than like Simlish from The Sims. It should just be like the default for everything. So I've kind of narrowed it down to a formula. And that is addiction, progress, and accomplishment, right? So you get addicted to the daily routine. Okay, I gotta go and fish, and I gotta go say hi to all the villagers so I make progress in being their friends, and I got to shake those trees for apples so I can pay off the debt in my house, and I can unlock more parts of this village and I can buy more furniture, right? So that's the addiction, is you just continually want to do more every single day so you can just keep on getting more stuff. So then that leads to progress. Like I said, it's getting those little dumb things, like a little outfit for your little person and buying little things for your little house. And then accomplishment, I guess, is being able to see your house get bigger and your person get more stylish. I don't know. I guess all of these things seem like a really kind of shallow reward that I don't understand, but I still really wanted to do all of these things. And I don't know what that says about me, and I don't know what the appeal is really. Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm going to try and psychoanalyze you. But this was also something I was thinking about a lot, just in general, because I was also thinking about what the appeal of Animal Crossing is, because I haven't played Animal Crossing New Leaf, and you'll have to put forth the case of why is it the best Animal Crossing. But I did play a ton of the first Animal Crossing on GameCube, and that released in 2001. Sorry, not 2001, 2002 in North America. Also, fun fact, it released on the Nintendo 64 in Japan. There was an N64 version of Animal Crossing. I don't know what that looks like, but it seems pretty wild. So I put an ungodly amount of time into that first Animal Crossing, and then I just kind of slowly fell off of it, and I haven't really gotten back into the series, but I think a large portion of the appeal of life simulation games in general, stuff like Stardew Valley and stuff like Animal Crossing, is that they make life simple and digestible and easy to understand and control. There are definite rules that the world follows, and you know that if you do X, you'll get Y. And that is, I think, a very comforting way to think about and deal with the world. And so when things are tough and complicated, people get more into games like this because it offers a way for things to make sense, even if it's just for a little while. The escapism is of being able to live a life that makes sense and is comprehensible, as opposed to the real world, which is messy, and sometimes you do the right thing and you still lose and you still don't make progress, and that can happen to people for years and years of trying their hardest and not making any progress towards their long-term goals. And I think that what Animal Crossing does, and what, again, games like Stardew Valley, but particularly Animal Crossing, is it offers a vision of a world that you can work towards your goals and actually accomplish them, and in a way that makes sense and rewards you for your time investment. Which, again, not things that necessarily happen in the real world, which sucks. That's one of the things that really, really sucks about our place in the world. And I think that's something that you have to learn the hard way growing up. And so when a game like Animal Crossing comes around and things are really, really hard for a lot of people, I think that's why we see so much fervent support and anticipation of Animal Crossing. You've seen it with almost every single Nintendo Direct that has been coming out. You will see Animal Crossing start to trend on Twitter, or people posting memes about summoning Animal Crossing. And like, if you were to look at Animal Crossing, I think in a vacuum, it might not seem that impressive, but I think the massive and overwhelming desire for an Animal Crossing game speaks to something that maybe is really wrong with our society.
We're all really sad, Nintendo. Give us these cute little sim games.
I mean, basically, yeah, basically. I think there's a lot of people who are really sad and really struggling, and this is something that is vaguely therapeutic, that helps.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with all of that. But then, like, at the same time, what makes it appealing to unlock these stupid little inconsequential things? And I guess that just kind of speaks to video games in general, right? At least when I'm not letting myself have fun with video games, this is what I think about. It's like, well, oh, sweet, I can accomplish this today. And then, fun brain is like, but what does that matter? And yeah, like, I agree that it allows that sense of accomplishment that we don't get in the real world, at least not consistently consistent with our efforts. But I don't know, it's like, am I really that cheap where I'm comforted by getting like a couch that looks like a tree? I don't know.
I think it just goes down to there is a deep and primal need in us for recognition. I think that people deep down, when they put in a lot of effort into something, whatever it is, they want to have that recognition. They want to have someone go, good job. And even if it's like a trophy that doesn't necessarily mean anything and is made out of plastic and costs like $3 at a local store somewhere, having that recognition from peers or superiors or even people like underlings. That seems, I didn't want to say that, but having some kind of recognition from someone else matters to us. And it's the kind of thing where, like, I'm a freelancer. I work alone a lot. There's no one around me to tell me if I'm necessarily doing a good job. And so sometimes, more than anything in the world, I want someone to come up to me and say, hey, you did a good job. And I think Animal Crossing does that in a lot of small ways, whether it's recognition from your neighbors about your house, or the satisfaction of pulling together a room, or paying off that massive in-game loan when you have a giant student loan hanging over you.
Mortgage the game.
And the game goes out of its way to recognize you having done that by repeatedly telling you, good job. And it's like that, those really subtle things that I think Animal Crossing really understands about people that keep people coming back to it.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to get this deep about Animal Crossing.
Hey, I welcome to Naomi's therapy session. No, I mean, it's just something that comes up with pretty much every game, right? It's, why am I playing this? Why do I like this medium? And then it becomes even bigger than that, where why do I watch this show? Why do I play this game? Why do I do anything? And it might be my nihilist brain thinking about it, but at the same time, it makes me appreciate what we're able to communicate to each other through these little pixels. Like, there is something at the basis of this game that is able to give people so much, and that is so freaking amazing. Like and I know I'm not alone. Like, there's people who have definitely reached out to me about what I said about Stardew, how it's helped me through depression, and it's just something that highlights why we play games, but not, and why we express ourselves, and why we have this insane need to make these technical monstrosities that cause a lot of stress and pressure on game developers in the industry. It's because it's such an amazing medium that has this capability to reach people in such a rich way.
Yeah, and I think one of the underlying messages of Animal Crossing is that you're loved. And a lot of people don't get that from their average life. Or don't hear it enough, or don't feel it enough. And Animal Crossing is a game where your mouse neighbor is genuinely happy to see you, and maybe they started out as kind of a jerk, but you've lived there long enough and talked with them enough, they've come around. They genuinely like you. And again, sure, it's just code, but the people who were designing that code intended for people to feel better. They put that love in the game.
Or they unintentionally, knew they expressed what they needed, and that just translated to other people because other people need that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can I just roll that all into why I nominate this game as a best game period?
Yeah, go for it.
But yeah, like, we're able to get all of that out of a really, really simplistic game. And it's still, it's not as, what's the word? Not timely. Like, replay value. What's that word? My goodness, it's gone. It doesn't grip you forever, but right. When it does, it is like all consuming. And there's just something special about how they built this little world and these little systems that might seem insignificant, like turning in your fossils into the museum. Just having those tiny accomplishments lend to that idea. Like Jack said, like, you get a little trophy and this little cute owl's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, thank you. They have these systems everywhere, so you're not just like, yeah, it's really basic, but you're not just picking apples. You're paying off your loan. You're talking to Isabel. You're talking to the villagers. You're going fishing. You're going to a little island to catch bugs. Like, it just has a bunch of different layers that make it entertain my brain enough.
It's special. And
yeah.
I think one of the things that really does add to it, even though there are a lot of people who cheat or try and get around it, is the fact that it is locked to a time cycle.
And I mean, it's kind of ingenious that they don't always catch it, right? But there's a little, like I said, like a little mole creature that yells at you if it detects that was happening. Like, that's awesome. Like, you get this little meta accountability for what you're doing. Like, yeah, it would be really easy and cheap to cheat the system, right? But like, it takes away from the value of the game, and the game knows that.
Yeah, and I think part of the charm of Animal Crossing is that you have to almost go out of your way to meet it halfway. In a sense, it's almost like a real friend, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You have to, I mean, if you want to get like a special holiday item, you have to log on Christmas. You know, if you want to do that thing and catch the special fish, you have to log on at night. Or at midnight, you have to catch KK Ryder down by the train station. Like KK Slider, yes.
He's the best character, by the way.
KK Ryder is my favorite song. And so I think there is a certain amount of connection that people make with Animal Crossing because we are traveling along through time with it and with the characters and with the town. And that's related to our real world. And so people go through their normal lives, their normal lives with this game as almost a companion, you know? And no one part of it is overly complicated, but all of these rather simple systems put together makes the world feel alive.
Yeah, and another thing off of what you said about how it becomes another friend, it also forces you into accountability. I mean, if you want it, of course, like you have to log in every day if you want to make progress in this game. And I remember seeing someone who, again, wrote about depression and how this game helped them, you know, stay on track and at least have some sort of routine, because routine is everything when you're in a depressive episode. You know, if you have something that can motivate you to get through another day, like, it's everything. And this game has a system to do that.
Some people have pets or plants that they have to water. And Animal Crossing can be a good stand-in for that.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a good stand-in for social interaction when it's too hard to go outside and take care of yourself properly. And so, I don't know. I think that's good. Like, I think there are a lot of people out there who might turn their nose up at that and say, like, oh, that sounds so pathetic, or that's lame, or whatever, but it helps. And anything that helps, I think that's good.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right. Well, now after all of that sentiment and deepness, let's go to Contrarian Corner, where some people very much disagree with our opinions. All right. So this first one is from a person called The Beauty Deb, and they wrote this on February 16th, 2015, and they had this to say. I know Nintendo DSs don't have many good game options, so people got crazy over this game because it's different from most, and it has more to it than the first Animal Crossing. But I can't give in to the hype. Honestly, this game just made me feel like I was playing a game meant for a 5 to 10-year-old. Collect fruit, shells, and fish for money. Upgrade house, build bridges, do ridiculously easy favors, like give a present to someone in exchange for a t-shirt. Repeatedly for Dosh. I didn't feel like there were any difficult missions or game structure. I know there's more to it when you get deeper into the game, but I couldn't tolerate how slow it was and the lack of things to do at night. Fantasy Life and Rune Factory 4 basically have the same things included in the game, along with in-depth missions and hours of gameplay that is enjoyable. A few hours pass by and you're like, wow, I didn't realize. In Animal Crossing, I struggled to play for more than 30 minutes at a time. I lost interest easily. If you're in the younger crowd, this is for you. And that's a very reasonable review. You know, this just wasn't for them. They didn't find that connection like we were talking about. All right, and I have one more. And this is from someone called Hell Beholder. Ooh, that's deep.
Ooh, someone's trying to be edgy.
And they wrote this on April 16th, 2017. And they said, I find Animal Crossing New Leaf pretty boring and lackluster, to be honest. There's so much they could have done with it, but it always stays in its kids' shoes. Sure, the way you customize your house and town are nice to a degree. Some villages are pretty cute and entertaining, but other than that, ... There's just too much limitation when it comes to village customization. The hitboxes for construction are too big. Also, it only benefits the look of your town, nothing else. There are like 3 ways to earn bells, which you need a lot of, and it gets extremely monotone after like 3 days. Every bleeping vendor needs to say their 10 lines of dialogue. 10 times pressing B to finally donate your stuff to them. Why can't they learn what I want from them and have a single text box for it? I will agree with that. Most villagers have a pretty limited pool for dialogue as well. They will repeat themselves extremely often, behave like potatoes, and don't interact with anything or anyone. They're just there. Why? You're the mayor. You're the major FFs. Okay, don't know what that means. What about taxes from the villagers and shops? What about setting up strange rules? Why do all villagers behave all the time? What about crime? You could punish a thief or something and see the character change his attitude. That sounds really interesting.
It also sounds really dark.
Yeah, it does.
Why do you want to punish them?
Or not.
I'm gonna chop off one of their hands.
And you can push them out of your village. Oh, that got even worse. They could actively earn bells for themselves. Maybe someone gets homeless because they're too stupid to earn bells. You gotta help them or not. You could set up constructions by their own, and you could decide if it's okay or not, charging them with fees. Wow, this is like capitalism the game, I guess.
Gosh, this sounds horrible.
A test of morality, I guess. Only a couple more lines here.
Yeah, why can't there be a prison architect side game?
Right? There could be so much cool stuff empowering the player, but when someone comes up, asks for another bleeping orange because they can't shake the goddamn tree, I don't feel like the mayor at all. I feel like a kindergartner. This game is the definition of missed opportunities. I know the core mechanics are supposed to be relaxing and casual, which they are, but they simply feel uninspired and lackluster. It simply should be more like Sims, in my opinion.
Yeah, why can't this thing be more like this other thing that already exists?
Where apparently you can collect taxes and punish these adorable little meeps and...
yeah, why can't I build a swimming pool and kill them slowly?
So yeah, I mean, there are some good points in there. You know, like I admitted, like the game is not very complex, and if you don't get into the groove, it's boring as hell. But if you do, you get a little piece of magic, and that's why I nominate it as a best game, period.
That's fair. Do you know, like, what kind of features are exclusive to New Leaf that, like... I guess, like, what elevates it above the first Animal Crossing?
Well, definitely graphics.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's tough because, you know, it's funny. You played the first one, I played the second one, and yeah. So...
I don't know that was the second one, though. There's also, like, Animal Crossing Wild World.
Yeah, you're very right, because this is a Nintendo game on handhelds. So, yes, you are very right. Okay. It had enough depth where it was really engaging when I played it when it came out, which was like 2012 or something like that on my 3DS. You know, I played it in between playing X and Y, Pokemon X and Y. And it was those were amazing games to play with each other. You know, I would play Animal Crossing for whatever amount of time, try to peel myself away, play Pokemon, and continue that cycle of these addicting games. So, the end.
Well, dear listener, you can let us know what you think of the podcast over on @bestgames, period, on Twitter, We also have a Patreon. If you really like the show, we would really appreciate it if you headed over to patreon.com/bestgamesperiod. And there, if you support us for $1 per month or more, you will get additional bonus episodes for the show. And hopefully there will be some more coming soon. I plan to have like a big dump.
Again, not a great way to refer to our shows.
Of content.
A dump in a can.
A dump of content. You're the one. I'm shocked that you're the one making poop jokes out of the two of us.
Am I though?
But
yeah, I am.
But if you head over there, you can find some exclusive stuff. More will be coming eventually. Having my gallbladder taken out has slowed that process somewhat, but it is coming, I promise. On top of that, you can find the show on pretty much any place you can find a podcast, except for Spotify. So SoundCloud, Libsyn, iTunes, pretty much all major podcasting apps, you can find the best games, period. And on top of that, you can also find us on community.extra-life.org. And if you don't know what Extra Life is, it is a fantastic charity. It's part of Children's Miracle Network Hospitals, and it helps sick and injured kids all across the United States and Canada. And when you sign up over at extra-life.org, you can learn more if you have any questions. And if you decide, you want to support this charity, well, guess what? When you sign up, you can actually choose which Children's Miracle Network hospital you want to support, and 100% of everything you raise goes directly to help the sick and injured kids at that hospital. So you know where the money is going, and it's going to a really, really good cause. The local children's hospital in St. Paul, the one that I support, they were able to put in a therapy pool that is able to control its elevation to accommodate kids of different sizes. And that's really cool because the hospital specializes in treating cerebral palsy patients. So that's something they really, really needed. And Extra Life helped them pay for that pool. And that is awesome. So again, you can get involved on the community side of things and maybe read some interesting articles over on community.extra-life.org. Or you can sign up, and maybe you should do both. You should do both.
You should do both.
Next week, we are going to be talking about a normal lost phone. I'm really excited to talk about that one. And I guess we'll see you on the flippity dippity.